think about the happiest day of your life. For many, it's their wedding day, full of hope, promises, and dreams of forever. Now, try to grasp this. Just 3 months after saying, "I do," your partner walks out for your best friend. For Aaliyah Davenport, living in the quiet neighborhood of Crestwood Estates, this devastating reality was just the start of a terrible sequence of events. Have you ever felt that deep sting when someone you trusted completely let you down? That feeling when your whole world seems built on a lie? It's a gut-wrenching experience. But what happens when that betrayal doesn't just break a heart, but leads down a path ending in violence? What happens when the people closest to you are hiding the most awful secrets? In the seemingly perfect community of Crestwood Estates, where neighbors wave and lawns were neatly kept, a marriage that looked like a fairy tale fell apart because of secrets and lies. A young woman, Aaliyah, was left alone, heartbroken and confused. But the pain of a broken marriage was about to escalate into something truly horrifying. What pushes a husband and a best friend to betray someone so deeply? And what exactly took place during the 2 weeks after Aaliyah's husband left, leading up to the shocking discovery in her own backyard? Stay with Crazy Crime Files as we explore the heartbreaking details. Stories like Aaliyah's, stories about the real consequences of broken trust, need to be heard. If you agree, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell right now. You won't want to miss how this story unfolds. Aaliyah Davenport was the kind of person who lit up a room. Her smile was genuine, her heart was open, and she had this infectious optimism that drew people to her. She believed in love, the lasting kind, and when she met Malik Davenport, she thought she'd found it. She fell for him completely, envisioning a future filled with shared dreams and simple happiness in their Crestwood Estates home. Malik was charismatic, no doubt about it. He was an entrepreneur with big plans, always talking about success and reaching higher. He knew how to charm people, how to make them feel special, and Aaliyah was captivated. He promised her the world, a partnership where they would build an empire together, starting from their cozy life in the suburbs. Their romance moved quickly, a whirlwind of dates and declarations that led to a beautiful wedding day. The wedding was everything Aaliyah had dreamed of, a celebration of love witnessed by friends and family. Looking back at the photos, you see pure joy in her eyes as she said her vows. Everyone thought they were the perfect couple, embarking on a wonderful life together in their new home. It truly looked like a fairy tale beginning. And right there, often by Aaliyah's side, was Tiana Brooks. Tiana wasn't just a friend. She was Aaliyah's confidant, the person she'd known for years, the one she shared everything with: joys, sorrows, secrets. Tiana was vibrant, full of energy, always ready with a laugh. Their bond seemed unbreakable, built on years of mutual support and understanding. Tiana was even a bridesmaid, standing proudly beside Aaliyah on her big day. But almost as soon as the honeymoon phase ended, tiny cracks started to appear in the perfect facade. It began subtly. Aaliyah noticed Malik seemed distant. His attention drifted during conversations. His phone buzzed constantly, often late at night, and he'd offer vague excuses about work. The easy warmth they shared over dinner started to cool, replaced by silences that felt heavy. Then there was Tiana's presence. She started visiting their home more often, sometimes unannounced. Aaliyah initially welcomed her friend, glad for the company. But soon, a small knot of unease began to form. Was it just her imagination, or did Tiana's laughter seem a little too loud when Malik was around? Did their glances linger a fraction too long? Aaliyah tried to push these thoughts away, telling herself she was being insecure, adjusting to married life. But the atmosphere in the house had undeniably changed. The dream she thought she was living started to feel shaky. Weeks turned into a month, then 2, and the knot of unease in Aaliyah's stomach tightened. She couldn't ignore the signs anymore. The late nights Malik claimed were work, the hushed phone calls he took in the other room. The way Tiana seemed to know things about Malik's day that Aaliyah didn't. The trust she had placed so completely in her husband and in her best friend was eroding day by day. Sleep offered little escape, her thoughts racing, trying to piece together the fragments of conversations and stolen glances. She felt confused, hurt, and increasingly alone within the walls of her own home. The need for answers became unbearable. Finally, one tense evening, with rain lashing against the windows mirroring the storm inside her, Aaliyah confronted Malik. Her voice trembled, not with anger, but with a desperate plea for honesty. She laid out her fears, her observations, asking him to just tell her the truth. What happened next shattered her world completely. There was no apology, no attempt to explain away her fears. Malik's charming facade dropped, replaced by a chilling detachment. He admitted it. He told her he wasn't happy, that the passion was gone. And then came the final blow. He was leaving her. For Tana, her best friend. The words hung in the air, cold and sharp, cutting deeper than any physical wound. Aaliyah stood there, speechless, the foundation of her life crumbling beneath her feet. Malik didn't waste time. Within days, he moved out, leaving Aaliyah surrounded by wedding gifts and memories that now felt like mockeries. He moved in with Tiana, just a few streets away in the same Crestwood Estates neighborhood. News travels fast in a close community, and the story hit like a shockwave. Neighbors who had attended the wedding just months before now spoke in hushed tones, shaking their heads. The perfect couple, the admired union. It was all a lie. Aaliyah became isolated. The house a constant reminder of the betrayal. Friends tried to reach out, but the depth of her pain was immense, compounded by the fact that her closest friend was the source of it. Living next door was Elijah Parker, a retired police detective. Elijah was a quiet, observant man who had always appreciated Aaliyah's kindness. He'd seen her vibrant energy, her easy smile during morning walks. Now he noticed a change. He saw the lights in her house stay off more often, saw her car remain parked for days. The sparkle he remembered was gone, replaced by a deep sadness in her eyes. One evening, seeing her sitting alone on her porch as dusk settled, looking utterly lost, Elijah felt compelled to speak. He walked over, his voice gentle. "Good evening, Aaliyah," he said softly. "You seem troubled tonight. Is everything all right?" She looked up, startled, managing a weak, fragile smile. "I'm just lost, Elijah," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "I thought I knew what love was, but now everything feels like a lie." Elijah simply nodded, understanding more than words could say. "If you ever need someone to talk to," he offered kindly, "remember that I'm just next door." For Aaliyah, adrift in a sea of grief and betrayal, those simple words were a small anchor in the encroaching darkness. 2 weeks passed after Malik walked out, leaving Aaliyah alone with her shattered heart. For those 14 days, a heavy silence descended upon her home and her life. Friends later recounted how Aaliyah seemed to vanish. She stopped attending the weekly church gatherings where her presence was always felt. The community dinners, once brightened by her laughter, went on without her. She wasn't answering her phone. Calls went straight to voicemail, the mailbox eventually becoming full. Her usually active social media pages fell dormant. It was as if Aaliyah Davenport, the vibrant woman everyone knew, was fading away, withdrawing deeper into the shadows of her grief and betrayal. Concerns grew among those who cared, but no one knew the true depth of her isolation. Her parents, living out of town, grew increasingly worried. Daily calls turned into multiple attempts a day, each met with silence. That gnawing feeling that something was wrong intensified until they couldn't bear it any longer. One morning, after another night of restless sleep and unanswered calls, they drove to Crestwood Estates. hoping to find their daughter, simply needing comfort, perhaps overwhelmed but safe. When they arrived, the house felt unnervingly still. The curtains were drawn. Repeated knocks on the door echoed unanswered. Peering through windows, they saw no movement inside, just stillness. A sense of dread washed over them. This wasn't just sadness. Something felt deeply wrong. With trembling hands, they called the local police department, reporting their daughter missing. Fearing the worst, law enforcement arrived quickly. Officers entered the home, conducting a careful search. Inside, things seemed mostly ordinary, yet disturbingly untouched, as if time had stopped. There were no immediate signs of a struggle, but Aaliyah was nowhere to be found. Her car was still in the driveway. Her purse and keys were inside. Where could she be? As the search continued, neighbor Elijah Parker watched, his mind perhaps recalling unsettling details. Glimpses of Malik or Tiana near the property late at night during those 2 weeks, moments he'd initially dismissed but now seemed potentially significant. The search extended to the outside. The yard Aaliyah had once tended with care. And there, in a corner of the backyard, beneath the shade of an old oak tree, investigators noticed something that made their blood run cold: a patch of earth. It looked freshly disturbed, out of place with the surrounding ground. With painstaking care, forensic experts began to dig. What they found confirmed everyone's deepest fears. Buried in the shallow grave was Aaliyah, her body lifeless, discovered in the very place she should have felt safest. The quiet suburban street was instantly transformed into a scene of unimaginable horror and grief. This is where the story takes its darkest turn. A young woman, betrayed and heartbroken, vanishes for 2 weeks, only to be found dead in her own backyard. What do you think happened during those 2 silent weeks? What drove things to this horrifying end? Share your initial theories and feelings in the comments below. Let's try to make sense of this tragedy together. The horrifying discovery in Aaliyah's backyard ignited a full-scale investigation. What had happened to her? And who was responsible? Detectives immediately focused on the 2 people whose actions had directly preceded her disappearance: her estranged husband, Malik, and her former best friend, Tiana. Their sudden relationship and Malik's hasty departure from the marital home cast a long shadow of suspicion. Investigators began gathering information, and crucial details started to surface. Elijah Parker's observations proved valuable. He recounted seeing Malik's car near the property during odd hours in the 2 weeks Aaliyah was missing, sometimes with Tiana present. It wasn't definitive proof, but it placed him near the location during the critical time frame. Then came the digital trail. Detectives recovered Aaliyah's phone, and though many calls went unanswered, there were voicemail messages left by Malik. His voice on the recording sounded conflicted, swinging between anger and what might have been guilt, hinting at unresolved issues and intense emotional turmoil. More damaging were the text messages exchanged between Malik and Tiana. While they might have thought their conversations were private, forensic analysis revealed messages filled with bitterness toward Aaliyah, discussions about their future, and thinly veiled references to the problem she represented. Security footage from a nearby gas station provided another link. A car matching Tiana's was recorded speeding away from the direction of Aaliyah's neighborhood late one night, around the time investigators believed Aaliyah might have died. Perhaps the most concrete piece was a recent purchase Malik had made. Investigators found a record showing he bought gardening supplies, including a new shovel, just days before Aaliyah stopped communicating. Why would he need a shovel right after moving out? Armed with this mounting evidence, detectives brought Malik and Tiana in for questioning. Malik initially put up a front, denying any involvement, sticking to his story that he'd simply left a marriage that wasn't working. But as detectives presented the evidence, the texts, the voicemails, the shovel purchase, Elijah's observations, his composure crumbled. His story changed. He admitted to arguing with Aaliyah in the backyard after she confronted him again about the betrayal. He claimed things got heated, that she pushed him, and in a moment of uncontrolled rage, he grabbed the nearby garden shovel, the one he'd recently bought, and struck her. He painted it as an impulsive act, a terrible accident born of fury. Tiana's confession painted an even darker picture. Under questioning, she eventually broke down completely. Tears streamed as she admitted she wasn't just aware of the argument. She was there. She confirmed Malik struck Aaliyah during the heated exchange, but her involvement didn't end there. In a trembling voice, she confessed that in the panic and shock that followed, she had helped Malik. She admitted to assisting him in burying Aaliyah's body beneath the oak tree and tried to make it look like nothing had happened. Her confession solidified the narrative. This wasn't just Malik's impulsive act. It was a crime concealed with cold calculation by both of them. The lies had fully come apart. The investigation had exposed a truth hidden beneath the surface of betrayal. A truth far more brutal than anyone in Crestwood Estates could have imagined. The trial of Malik Davenport and Tiana Brooks captivated Crestwood Estates, turning neighbor against neighbor as details emerged. The courtroom was thick with tension as the two people who had destroyed Aaliyah's life sat side by side, facing the consequences. Prosecutors methodically presented their case, laying out the timeline of betrayal, the digital evidence of their communication, the forensic findings from the backyard, and the damning confessions. A key moment came when retired Detective Elijah Parker took the stand. With quiet authority, he recounted his observations, the subtle changes in Aaliyah, the late-night presence of Malik and Tiana near the house during those critical 2 weeks. His testimony, delivered without bias, helped connect the pieces for the jury, painting a clear picture of opportunity and suspicious behavior that corroborated the prosecution's narrative. After hours of deliberation, the jury returned. The verdict was decisive. Malik Davenport was found guilty of first-degree murder for the death of his wife, Aaliyah. He received a sentence of life in prison with no possibility of parole. Tiana Brooks, whose betrayal cut Aaliyah just as deeply, was found guilty for her role in the crime and its concealment. She was sentenced to 25 years behind bars. Justice, in the legal sense, had been served. But for the community of Crestwood Estates, the trial left deep scars. The sense of safety and trust that had once defined the neighborhood was fractured. The tragic end of Aaliyah Davenport served as a harsh reminder that terrible acts can happen anywhere, committed by people who once seemed like friends and neighbors. The sorrow lingered long after the gavel fell. Months turned into a year, but the memory of Aaliyah Davenport lingered, a poignant reminder of the devastating consequences of betrayal. For Elijah Parker, the loss of Aaliyah left an indelible mark on his conscience. He spent many evenings on his porch, gazing toward the overgrown backyard, where Aaliyah's final moments had been hidden amongst the wild, unkempt weeds. Each rustle of the wind brought back echoes of her laughter and the promise of a life that had been callously stolen. Aaliyah's story soon became a somber legend, a cautionary tale recounted at community meetings, whispered among neighbors, and even featured in local true crime podcasts. Her life, marked by kindness and the belief in everlasting love, stood in stark contrast to the cold, calculated betrayal that had ended it. For many, the tragedy served as a potent reminder that behind every facade of happiness, there might lie secrets waiting to unravel, and that the search for validation in the wrong places could lead to irreversible consequences. The legacy of Aaliyah Davenport prompted many to reflect on the dual nature of human relationships, the light that love can bring and the darkness that betrayal can unleash. It urged those who listen to cherish loyalty over fleeting passions, and to be ever vigilant of the quiet signs that sometimes foretell a storm. In Crestwood Estates, the legacy of Aaliyah Davenport continued to serve as both a lament and a lesson, a narrative etched into the annals of the community, urging future generations to tread carefully in matters of the heart. The life of Aaliyah Davenport was a testament to the beauty and fragility of the human spirit. In a world that often rewards deception and self-interest, her story remains a poignant reminder that trust, once betrayed, carries a weight too heavy for any soul to bear. And though her voice was silenced on that fateful day, the echo of her lived truth resonates still, an eternal beacon urging all who hear to nurture love with honesty, to safeguard the bonds that define our humanity, and to never allow the seeds of betrayal to take root in the fertile ground of our hearts. Aaliyah Davenport deserved a life filled with the love she so freely gave. Her story is a tragic reminder of the darkness that can hide behind a familiar smile. If this case moved you, please show your support by hitting the like button and sharing this video. And don't forget to subscribe to Crazy Crime Files for more stories that matter. What's the biggest lesson you're taking away from this? Let us know in the comments. Join us next time on Crazy Crime Files as we delve into another true crime story that will leave you questioning the very fabric of human relationships. Until then, remember, trust, once broken, can never be fully mended.